Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It is the first video that I've done in a while, especially for a series. I mean, I just uploaded an F1 Funny Moments a few days ago and I thought that went pretty well. It was my first time doing one of those videos and I was quite happy with how it went. But anyway, we are now starting a new series which I'm hopefully going to upload weekly at least, maybe even 2 times a week hopefully. So yeah, here we go. We're starting with the tracks. I'm going to do a 16 race season. I was debating between a 10 or a 16 race. But for the first season, we'll try a 16 race. We'll see how it goes. If it takes too long, then maybe over the next couple of seasons, I might do a 10 race season just so we can get through the series and get it done. But yeah, so basically for this series, I'm going to be Haas, which is by far the slowest team in the grid. If you watch Formula 1 in real life, you'll see that they were so far off the pace, it was ridiculous. And they scored 0 points all season, so the goal here is to score at least a point. But in this first season is to try and see if we can beat Alfa Romeo and Williams. The first few races are going to be the most difficult, just because the car's going to be so slow. We won't be able to keep up, and we'll have to maybe get lucky with some safety cars or a good strategy. And that's the only way we're going to get points early on in the season. But hopefully as the season goes by, the car will upgrade and we'll get quicker and we could have a chance of maybe getting 9th or 10th in certain races and pick up points that way. So that's kind of why I did a 16 race season, to give myself more opportunities to get these points. But also it's going to give, I guess, Williams and Alfa Romeo more opportunities to get more points than me. So we'll see how the season goes. The goal is to finish 8th. Any higher I don't think will be possible, because if you've been watching the setup, I am going to be racing on 100 AI, which is around my level. I mean, some races it is 103, 104, 105, whereas other tracks it's down at 95, 96, 97, so it's like, it's kind of like an in-between, because it depends on, like, Austria's an easier track. I could probably race at 105, same with Silverstone. But then you go to Spain or Hungary and 96, 97 is more a level. But I'm going to keep it 100. That's going to be the benchmark. And maybe if I do too good, I'll up it by 1 or 2. And if I don't do well enough, then maybe I'll lower it by 1 or 2. Just to keep the series a bit more interesting and to keep it more fair. So as you can see, I'm just setting up my my profile now. I called my character Steve Stevens, if you've seen. Just because I saw an audio name as Stevens, and I thought, why not? Steve Stevens, might as well. So that's going to be the character, and there's the helmet for the first season, and we're just running through, just doing the poses, doing the podium emotes. Not that we have to worry about them, especially in this first season. But we'll see how it goes, and I'm thinking hopefully it'll take maybe 3-4 seasons before we're fighting for that constructors title. Hopefully. I mean, if it takes any longer than that, then I'm not sure we'll ever finish this series. But hopefully we can bring this Haas team up as quickly as possible. And you can see that Nikita Mazepin is my teammate for this first season. So lots of points expected. I think more spins than points are going to happen. But Nikita Mazepin will be my teammate, and here we go into the season. And the first thing we're going to do is try and get some upgrades, because you can see how bad we are compared to the rest of the cars. Look at that performance comparison on the right side there. We're just nowhere near. So the first thing we're going to do is go and try and upgrade our chassis. And the risk I've taken here is I've gone for a rush upgrade, and I think it said 55% failure chance. And it's a very big risk, because at Haas we're not going to get the same amount of resource points as other teams. We're obviously going to get the least amount, because our spec, we only have spec 1 and spec 2, which means we're going to get less weekly resource points. So if it does fail, then that's just a waste of about 500 resource points that we could have used elsewhere, and it's only going to upgrade for the first race in Bahrain, so there's probably not much point in it. But I've gone for it anyway. I've taken a risk because we are so far behind. I want to try and level up this car as quickly as possible. And you can see there, the risk does not pay off. So it's not been a very good start to the series. We're going to have to wait until Imola until that comes in. And that's going to be another 500 resource points, which we do not have yet. So we're going to have to wait a few more days until we get those weekly resource points back. And we have to waste them again on the chassis upgrade. So not the ideal start to the Haas life that we had in mind, but is what it is. That's going to be the series. Setbacks like that are going to happen, and we're just going to have to cope with them. So here we are, into the first qualifying, and after looking back, I did realise that the recording was a little bit jumpy. I think I might have had that sorted out for future episodes, because I did some testing, because I don't know why it was jumpy at times, but then alright, it was I think it was something to do with my settings in Streamlabs, but I think I've fixed it now. But for this episode, it's going to be a little bit jumpy. You'll just have to bear with me. But here we are into qualifying, and I did a few practice laps, obviously to get the resource points and to just get a feel with the car, because it is so much different to driving pretty much any other car on this game. It feels so heavy around the corners, and I was just trying to get the right setup for this car and to try and feel it more. So coming into turn 1, you can see I braked a little too early. Could have braked a little later and gained more time, but this is my first run. This is more just to get a feel of what it's like on this low fuel in a qualifying lap. I think I only did one of these in the practice session. So with this first lap, we're going to try and send it at most of the corners. We kind of have to if we're going to try and beat the Alfa Romeo and Williams. I think beating our teammate shouldn't be too hard, and as you can see across the line there, we are 2-3 tenths off Latifi and Giovinazzi, but we're already 4 tenths up on our teammate, and I think that just shows the difference right there. Bahrain is one of my strongest tracks on this whole calendar, so I do expect myself to do well here and put myself well ahead of my teammate, especially in the qualifying. And coming down to turn 1, you can see we brake a little bit later, about 20-30 yards later, lock up a bit of turn 1, but you can already see the huge difference that we've gained just from braking that little bit later. We're 2 tenths up coming into, I think, turn 4 and 5, and you can see we're just gaining time everywhere. We're hitting the apexes. We weren't doing that so much in the first lap, and we are just sending it at every corner. We have nothing to lose. It's either P19 or further up the grid for us, and you can see we're much tighter into these corners, a little over the curve there, turning a little bit too early, but we're still up 4 to 5 tenths. Now coming down into this hairpin, I took this really well on my first lap, and on this second lap again, lock up a little bit, but it's almost perfect into the hairpin. And we're about 5 tenths up on our time, so we're half a second clear. This is going to put us ahead of potentially both Williams and maybe even both Alfa Romeos, which could mean a Q2 appearance in our first race in the car, which is by far the slowest on the grid. Coming around this fast right-hander, careful not to go too wide here, and we're up 7 tenths. Can we get a good exit? We get a phenomenal exit out of there, so we're on 7, almost 7.5 tenths up coming into the final turn. We've just got to get it around this final turn. Make sure this is a nice, good final turn, not too many risks. And you can see 8 tenths up on our time. This is a phenomenal lap. I couldn't ask for much better, especially on our opening debut, on our debut, not opening debut, but opening race of the season. And I think it was P16. It was either P16 or P15. If it's P15, we're in the Q2 for the first race of the season. And we're going to have a look, go down here. Desperate to see what it is, and it is P16, which is an unbelievable result. About a tenth away from Kimi Räikkönen, so close to making it into Q2. But P16, beating both Williams drivers and an Alfa Romeo, and obviously our teammate as well. I couldn't ask for a much better result. So here we are, onto the race in Bahrain.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, Lando Norris and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly and Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sebastian Vettel and Stroll, Raikkonen, Stevens, Antonio Giovinazzi and George Russell, Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So there is the grid for the first race of the season. Obviously no penalties. There'll be no penalties on the first race, but P16 is not a bad position at all. We're going to go on the alternate strategy because that is very powerful around Bahrain. We're going to start on the mediums, then go to the hards. It's either the hards or the softs. It depends how long I can hold on to these mediums. And I'm not sure how good the time management will be, but we'll find out. So here we are, 5 red lights for the opening race of the season, and away we go in the Haas car. We get a decent start behind the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll. Can we go up the inside? We are going to have a look. Going down the inside. Are we going to go down both Aston Martins or just one? We get down the inside of Stroll. Are we going to go down the inside of Vettel? Yes, we do. Trying to squeeze our way through a bit of contact, a bit of wheel banging with the Aston Martin and the Alpines. But now we've got to run down into Esteban Ocon. A little bit shaky on the rear, but that's just the car. We're going to try and go around the outside of Ocon. Can we stick it around the outside? No, we can't. It's a little too much, especially with the Alpine on the soft tyres. But we are up in the, I think that is P14, which is a great start. Getting 2 positions in this Haas car. And we are way back on the Alpine, but we go down the inside. And what a move that is. That is Max Verstappen-esque. That's a move you'll see from Verstappen very late in the day, but gets the job done down the inside, and that is P13 ahead of an Alpine, 2 Aston Martins, and obviously the Alfa Romeos and the Williams and our teammates. So that is couldn't have asked for a much better start. It's P12. Excuse me, I got a bad cough. But P12 in this race, and I mean it's a great start. Now we've just got to battle with the Aston Martins and the Alpines to try and keep them behind, because the pace of those cars is way faster than ours. So it's just all about saving up that ERS for the straights and using it all to hold them up a little bit longer, because the longer we hold them up, the more and more they come into our race. We hold them up for 10-15 laps, maybe we have a chance at beating them, and then we're 2 retirements away from getting our first point of the season. So 5 laps in, we're doing a very good job of this, but you can see the ERS down in the bottom left is just losing more and more, and then mistakes like that at the hairpin going a bit too wide is going to cost us a lot. So you can see I'm using all my ERS, but with DRS and the ERS of the Alpine, it's almost impossible to stay ahead, especially when you make a big mistake like I just did. So coming around the outside, the Alpine gets ahead, and I thought, why not let him pass? Because now on the next straight, I'm going to have DRS, so I could probably get it back. As you can see, I've got a little bit wide, and I'm just struggling a bit to keep up with this pace of the Alpine and the Aston Martin, because I should not be where I am right now in the race. I should be back there with my teammate who's lost track of everybody. But we are coming around this last corner and we're fighting for our lives. We've got DRS, and we know if we don't get past Ocon here, he's gone. He's out of our race. We're not catching him. So we're going to go for it. We're going to get DRS, see if we can get closer without using any DRS, because we're low on it. We can't get much closer, but we're going to go down the inside. It's a great dive bomb. What a move that is. Locking up a little bit on the front tyres, but it's a fantastic move late in the day. Well executed. And lap 7, we're still in P12 fighting with the big dogs. So you can see, we're going to see a replay of this here. We are quite far back going down to turn 1. Ocon doesn't defend, he doesn't expect it, but what a move that is. Down the inside, nice and clean. And I think the Aston Martin capitalises on it as well and gets past Ocon. So Ocon loses 2 places in 2 corners. And we are still in P12 come lap 7. But you can see here, the Aston Martin is right on our tail. We're not going to be able to hold him up. No point in wasting our ERS. We'll see if we can get him coming off of turn 2, turn 3, to see if we can get him down the DRS straight. And you can see coming down here, can we get the traction so we can get the DRS on the next straight? We do get the DRS, but we're just nowhere near. And I think that's a downforce difference between the 2 cars. He can pull away 4 or 5 tenths in a couple corners, and a lap and a half later he's 2 seconds clear. So it just shows that the Aston Martin and the Alpines that we're fighting against are about a second clear, a second faster than us per lap realistically. And we've got Ocon, and we've got the pit stop runners coming up behind us, and there goes the Mercedes down the inside of Ocon, and Ocon's just gone off the track. He's completely missed his braking point. That's him out of our race almost, and he's dropping down and down. I don't know why he's not getting back on the track quicker. He got on the track and just stopped for some reason on the racing line, but that's Ocon losing about 10 to 15 seconds. He was pressuring us pretty much all the race, and now he's out of our race almost. So 10 laps later, or 8 laps later, we're in P9, obviously with a lot of pit stops happening, but this is looking like a really good race, and we're going to push these mediums all the way to try and get onto the softs. And coming around turn 2, we bid it. The first time in the series, we spin it. It was going so well, this race. It was perfect. I mean, we were holding on to these tyres. They didn't feel awful. I mean, they felt like I was doing all right. And I think if you see coming around here, we just hit the inside a little too much and we lose the rear. And that's part of me. I took a bit of the wrong line. That's like, I think that was one of the first times in this race I went over that bump. As you can see, the green bump on the inside, I got a bit greedy. But also, the tyres are just gone. You know, when you get 50-60% tyres, you go over a bump like that, you're more than likely going to lose the car. So now for the rest of the race, it's all about a recovery drive and trying to get back in this. And you can see Vettel, who was with us at the start of the race, is now a pit stop ahead on the hard tyres, so no point in fighting him. So yeah, we basically threw away any chance of points this race with the spin, but we are going to try and finish the race ahead of our teammate, maybe ahead of the Alfa Romeo, ahead of the Williams. And you can see here, a safety car could save our race, and on lap 17, just after our spin, that's the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll, I believe, has pulled over. He's pulled over down the straight. You'd think maybe a safety car's coming in, especially as safety car is increased, but no, it doesn't look like anything's happening. If a safety car comes in there, it saves my race. I come in, I put on the soft tyres, and I haven't lost too much time. And that spin doesn't look as bad, but unfortunately no safety car. But we have another yellow flag up at the hairpin, and I don't know what's happened there. It looks like a Mercedes. It's either Hamilton or Bottas. They're going side by side down into the hairpin. We saw that earlier with Ocon, and he does similar to what Ocon does, and he goes well wide, and he's gone off the track. So I think that might have been Valtteri Bottas. No, it's Hamilton. It's Lewis Hamilton. So he's sat on the side, can't come back on because he's right by where the racing line is, and he loses about 10 to 15 seconds. So that's a tough one for the Mercedes. And Lewis Hamilton, not the ideal race for his first race, defending his title again, trying to go for his 8th in this career mode. We know he didn't get it in real life, but you can see here my tyres 85% with about 8 laps to go. They're on puncture territory. I got pretty lucky, I didn't get a puncture, but I was pushing him for as long as possible just so I could have some fast tyres towards the end of the race and have a bit of fun, you know, chase down the Alfa Romeo and the Williams and maybe my teammate as well. But putting on these soft tyres, coming around, you see the Williams and the Alfa Romeo, Giovinazzi and Latifi go past me, and Mazepin is now coming down the straight on the hards. If we could get out ahead of him on the softs, then we might be able to get Giovinazzi and Latifi. But it is crucial that we get ahead of Mazepin so we don't lose too much time. And coming out of the pit lane, you can see we're about half a second too slow. So half a second away from getting ahead of Mazepin, and now we're stuck behind him. But it shouldn't be too hard because he's on hard tyres and we're on brand new softs. So chasing him down, we should be able to get the move done pretty quickly. You can just see the amount of grip that I have compared to him. That's 3/10 gain just on that one corner. And it's only going to be a matter of time before I get past him. But Giovinazzi and Latifi are about 10 seconds clear. So this is why it's crucial that I get ahead of Mazepin as soon as possible. So I could chase those two down and potentially get P16 in my first race of the season, which wouldn't be too bad, especially in the slowest car in the grid. A little disappointing because of the spin. I could have done better. And maybe if a safety car came out, something could have happened for me. But that wasn't to be. And you can see we're coming up on Mazepin. We're going to go round the outside with the more grip on the tyres. We managed to make it stick, and it's a nice move. And now we can get on with our race. 80% ERS, 9.5 to 10 seconds behind the two ahead, who are going to be battling, but will also have DRS off each other. So it's going to be interesting if in 7 laps we can catch the two. And you can see 2 laps later, that's already 5 seconds gained. I mean, the softs compared to the hards are going to be very different at this point. You know, we should be gaining around probably two seconds per lap realistically, especially if they're fighting going into corners. But mistakes like that won't help me. That's going to cost me a couple of attempts, which could be crucial because we're up against the clock here. We've got 5 laps to catch these guys, but with 3 laps left, we're going to be within DRS range of Latifi. You can see the ERS in the bottom left. I've used it all to catch up and to get in the DRS range. And now every lap we go, it's going to be better for the two in front because our tyres are going to slowly deteriorate away. So we got 3 laps to catch, to make the move past Latifi and Giovinazzi. We want to get past Latifi as soon as possible, and then we can stick behind Giovinazzi a little bit, because you always want to be the second car within the DRS train, especially if you don't have too much ERS. So we're going to relax a little bit this lap, save up our ERS, and then attack Latifi so that we can be second going into the last lap and potentially get Giovinazzi and finish P16. And here we are, we're just going through the S's. And are we going to make a move down the inside of Latifi like we did to Esteban Ocon? Yes, we are. A late move, bit of a lock-up, but it's a beautiful move. Latifi gives us the room, and we're up into P17 with 2 laps to go. So we've got a lap and a half, or 2 laps, to get past Giovinazzi. We're going to try it now and see if we can pull away from him a little bit before the end to secure that P16 that we want. We're going to go around the outside of Giovinazzi. We're going to have the grip on these soft tyres, break around the 100-metre mark. Can we make it around the outside? Yes, we can, with the better traction. And we get past Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo and into P16 with about a lap and a half left. And I think this is a decent first race for us in the Haas. Obviously, very disappointing that we spun. Not sure if we would have got points. I don't think we would have. I think the pace of the other cars would have been too fast for us. But it would have been nice to see. And maybe if a safety car came out, it could have been a whole different story, because we would have been the only car on the soft tyres, I think. But it is what it is. And you can see coming across the line, we're going to have Sergio Perez win the opening race of the season. What a race for him. In the first race in the Red Bull. So yes, Sergio Perez gets the win, and we're going to come around the final corner here, just holding off Giovinazzi till the end, trying, oh, not the final corner, I don't know why I thought that was the final corner, we've still got half a lap left, but we're just holding off Giovinazzi. I think I'm trying to save the engine a little bit, so I'm not trying to use too much ERS, and with the gearbox I was trying not to ruin it either, and that's why he's still so close to me on these soft tyres. So we're going to make sure we stay ahead of him now. You probably use a bit of ERS down this straight, just so he can't catch us with the DRS he's going to get. And we get through this last straight, we should be good. You can see, yeah, I'm just checking the engine, making sure it's not too used, but it's going to be. You know, our durability upgrades are not there at all, so we're going to take plenty of penalties this season, starting at the back, if we do not do a good qualifying. But coming around the last couple corners, it's going to be P16 unless we make a huge mistake. And I think the strategy worked well. It's just, I need to be a bit more careful through that turn, and maybe I come out on the soft tyres and I get P12, P13, and it's a different race. But it's what it is. We're going to finish P16. I had a good fun racing this race, so
that's the end of the race. We'll see you in park.
I'd say for our first race of the season, it is not bad. It's not bad at all. We just got to get more used to the car, more upgrades, and allow ourselves to be more competitive. If we can get closer to Aston Martin and Alpine, then we can fight for those points. But P16 in the first race, I'm not too upset about that.
How did they manage to achieve this win?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
So there we have it, the first race of the season in Bahrain complete. Perez wins with Verstappen in second, so it's a 1-2 for the Red Bull. I think that was because Hamilton had that big lock-up at the hairpin and had to sit out and lose about 10 to 15 seconds. But in our race, we get P16, Mazepin P19 because of the retirement of Lance Stroll. And yeah, so it's not the best weekend, but you wouldn't expect anything more. The car's just not there. We have to wait about half a season before maybe we're fighting closer to the midfield and maybe closer to the points. And I think the first few races of this season are going to be tough and frustrating. but we'll have to get through it. Looking at the constructors, you can see that the 3 that you wouldn't expect to get points are the 3 that don't have any points, with Ferrari only getting 1, Alpine 2, Aston Martin 4, and you can see Red Bull have taken a big lead early doors, with Mercedes and McLaren in 2nd and 3rd. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.